Now in golf, there's a lot of bad advice out there, whether that's given from your fellow playing partners or that could be outdated info from some golf instructors. And in this video, I'm going to get into 5 of the worst mistakes you could be doing in your golf swing that you currently think are right. So once these are changed, it's going to immediately make a great improvement of your golf swing. So make sure you stick around for all of these points here, as one of these you could be doing that you think is right and isn't. So I'm Jonathan Chown with JChownGolf. Let's get right into this and get into the first mistake. Now, the first mistake that you think is right in the golf swing is keeping your trail leg flexed and braced at the top of the backswing. This is a huge no for a number of reasons, but this is something that is taught still by a lot of kind of outdated golf instructors who still think this is the way to swing a golf club. But let's get into why that is a massive mistake for your golf swing. If you're swinging up to the top of your backswing whilst keeping your trail leg flexed, so a lot of the time people are told to really turn into the inside of their trail leg, where almost their right knee starts to go inwards to there. That kind of tension you feel in there is meant to be a sign of power, but that's a sign of an injury waiting to happen. So we don't want to do that. Big technical reasons are if I keep my right leg flexed, I then can't turn my hips very well in the golf swing. So if I'm not turning my hips, 1, I'm not going to be able to coil up and have that much power. I'm going to lose club head speed. And 2, my hands, because I'm not rotating, I'm going to go straight upwards in my backswing. So instead of rotating around, get my hands going back and around, getting depth at the top of the backswing, I'm going to be going vertically up with my hands. So when we rotate in the downswing from here, I've got my trail leg, my hands have gone upwards, not around. I'm going to turn in the downswing and the rotation is going to force my hands straight out in front of me, and then I'm just going to cut across the ball, or I'll have to compromise my body movement to get back onto the golf ball. So we can see some big technical problems from that. 1, that will make you slice the golf ball, and 2, could even make you hook the golf ball. So it's a really poor move and you'll hit it a lot weaker too. So obviously other reasons, yes, we could have some big injuries come from this. We could have a lot of lower back issues. Because of what we need to do to be able to reroute the club from, this real high position there. Look at someone like Jason Day. This is where he gets to in the top of his backswing. Now, although he is one of the top players in the world, he is suffering from horrendous back problems because of him resisting and turning into and against his trail leg there. And then he has to really back his body to be able to get back onto the golf ball. So what we want to be doing instead of that move, as you can see, there isn't one benefit to it other than it looks good or it looks cool. It's not going to work out in a good shot. So what we've got to do here instead, we've got to straighten the trail leg here coming back. We've got to turn our hips and we've got to straighten the trail leg to the point of just before lockout. So you're going to see as I turn, see I'm freely rotating my hips, my trail leg is straightening up. You can see because I'm rotating more, my hands are going to be going more around me. It's going to take less tension to take that off my lower back. And now as I turn the downswing and I rotate, the hands aren't going to be going too far out in front of me as well. And I'm going to be hitting the ball further. So that's the first one there, guys. Make sure you're freeing up your hip turn. Don't resist that trail leg and don't keep it flexed. Really release some straightness into it. Really lose flex in that trail leg and you're going to be hitting better golf shots. Now the second one here, guys, of mistakes that you're doing that you think are right is all about your wrist hinge in the backswing. A lot of golfers overemphasize the importance of wrist hinge and try to overdo it, thinking it's this thing that they absolutely have to do, like to a certain degree, where I'll see golfers so worried about their wrist hinge that they will start hinging their wrists as soon as they start their backswing. Now, if you start hinging your wrists and over hinge your wrists early, a couple things can happen. 1, you'll be shortening your golf swing. You'll be taking away width from your golf swing, where then that will cause low point issues as we're coming towards the ground, because our body is then going to have to make up, tilt backwards to get back onto the golf ball. But probably the most damaging part of it is actually because when we try to over hinge our wrists, we end up getting some wrist extension, so cupping your left wrist quite a lot of the time. There is a way to hinge your wrists properly. So if we're doing that and we are over hinging early, we're cupping that wrist, we are also opening the club face because that wrist is cupping. So I'm going to get out to the top of my backswing because I've over hinged my wrists as well. I'm going to get a long backswing, so a lot of you overswingers out there, and that open club face is going to cause some big issues coming down the downswing, most likely some horrible strikes and some slices again. So this is really an area where it's actually more from golfer to golfer, this is more kind of like what your friend will be saying to you out on the golf course that you need to do. Most instructors know that this is a problem, that they won't tell you to do it. So we do need to hinge the wrists. It's just not as important as you might be thinking in the golf swing. We need to be making sure as we're hinging, we're gradually hinging the wrists up. I like to see a little bit of hinge as we're getting up to left arm parallel to ground, this L shape here. But I also want to see, instead of wrist extension, so wrist cupping, I want to see more wrist flexion. So slightly flexing that wrist at the top of the backswing, or at when we're getting that left wrist hinging up. Why I want that is because it's not going to have a negative effect on the club face there. It's going to square it off. And you can also see, if I just play with extension, so cupping the wrist, and now flexion, you can see how the golf club gets a little bit further away from me. It improves my width at the top of my swing and going through the downswing. Also adding in that little bit of hinge with flexion and bowing of the left wrist will help you shallow the golf club with a more squarer club face coming down in the downswing as well. So I won't have to do anything funny. So if you're really focused on your wrist hinge, make sure you're not doing it too early. You're doing it around left arm parallel and making sure you're getting a little bit of bow, if not flat, with that left wrist whilst you're doing it. Don't overdo it, because it's going to cause an open club face and an overswing at the same time, slices and poor mishits. Now here's the third golf swing mistake that you think is right, and this one is so common. I actually had this in a YouTube video in a comment not so long ago. I did a video all about how to swing into out naturally through the golf ball, and this is just a common misconception in the golf swing. A lot of players will be trying to swing into out and trying to shallow the golf club by dropping their right shoulder down as soon as they start the downswing. Now, as soon as you do that, you can see that, yep, I'm swinging more into out, and yes, I am shallowing the golf club, but if I end up really losing, what this is called losing my shoulder tilt, where my left shoulder raises up, right shoulder raises down, I'll end up reaching the ground early. So we can see here, if I'm trying to do that, see how naturally my upper body is going to tilt way backwards. It's going to fall behind the golf ball. So my low point is end up going to be behind the golf ball. I normally see this from players who have the flex trail leg. I see this as their shallowing method, because again, this is taught by a lot of pros out there. They will be saying either, you get up to the top of your backswing, flexing that leg, really bracing against it, and then you need to drop that shoulder down to get that club, manipulate it to get back inside. And then oh God, my back is hurting already and I am gonna hit the ball fat. If not, my body won't rotate. I'm going to go, and then it's going to be a flip show through there, and I'm going to hook the ball massively, because as soon as I drop that down, it will extremely move it into out. It's not the functional way. So again, if you're pairing that with the first problem there, if you're getting that good hip turn up to the top, you certainly don't need to be doing this to get that club falling inside. You just need to then turn your body, shift, and that club's going to be falling way more on path. You don't need to do that early. That movement of dropping the trail elbow down or trail shoulder down happens as we're coming through impact there. Imagine I'm skipping a stone through there. I'm not going to skip a stone over a pond like this, am I, from the start of my throw? I'm going to be having level shoulders, and then I'm going to be dropping that trail shoulder down, throwing it across the pond. Same thing with a golf swing. We want to keep those shoulders level until we're about left arm parallel to ground, and then going through. So we don't want to be down here straight away. So the fourth mistake in the golf swing that you think is right is something that drives me insane when I hear it. And I think it does for every golf instructor out there. And that's, you probably guessed it, when you're coming through the golf ball, keeping your head down, your eyes down to where that golf ball was, the old. Keep your head down, then you'll hit the ball better. Awful, awful, awful advice. Because you can imagine, if I'm keeping my head down throughout the entire shot where I'm not even looking at where that ball's going, I will immediately stop my body's rotation through the shot. And I'll get also quite a nasty little chicken wing out there. So it's going to be a really horrible thing, because if my body's not rotating, it won't be moving laterally either. So that is actually what's causing you to hit the bad shots, not what you've got to do to prevent it. I hear this all the time at the driving range. Every single day walking up and down, you'll hear someone say this at least 3 times. It's crazy. I suppose it keeps me in a job though, doesn't it? So that's the good thing about that. But as we can see here, let's see if I keep my head down the whole way. I hit it fat, chunky, bit of spray in my face from the mat. So what we want to be doing, we want to be more emulating someone like Well, number one, Dustin Johnson. If you look at him hit his wedge shots or his short iron shots, you'll see him coming into impact and his eyes will start looking down the target line. Why is he doing that? Because it keeps his chest rotating through the ball. If we're swinging at a golf club at speed and we look down that target line with our eyes, our chest is going to follow through it. So if things are moving in the right sequence and working properly, that's going to benefit your strike massively and square your club face, keeping it square through the hitting area. So don't be afraid to look down that target line as you're going and hitting the ball. Don't keep your eyes down. You don't need to watch yourself hit the ball. It's rubbish. It has no back into it whatsoever. No benefit at all. So the final golf swing mistake that you think is correct is, again, an old school instruction type of thing, just like the flex trail leg. But it's all about getting that nice release through the golf ball to square up your club face. You've got to do that release to fix your slice and to hit the ball straighter. Again, no, you don't. You don't need to do that to hit the ball straight, because if you have to do that in your golf swing, you have faults in there that are causing you to do that. So the most common one is, I'll see a lot of golfers come down in their downswing. They'll be having a wide open club face and they'll be thinking, okay, I just need to release that club to be able to square up that face. So what you have to do to, square up that face by releasing the club, you have to stop down all body rotation to be able to do that. How long is the club face square when you're trying to release it like this? Not even probably half a second. That's how timing orientated that move is. Again, we look at all the top players in the world. They're getting that club face nice and square very early in the golf swing, so they don't have to release the club. So then they can just continue to rotate through with a square club face, and the body rotation will manage that. If we do this, lots of club face closure. If we do this coming through the ball, very little club face closure. So that means if our club face is square, we're going to hit very consistent shots very, very often. So this is, again, very much attributed to the last one as well. People keeping their head down. The flip will happen. The release of the hands will happen because they're not rotating. But for you guys out there who are struggling with a slice, struggling to hit the ball right, look into your club face and what your club face is doing in your golf swing before you look into the release. If someone's telling you to do this in your golf swing, let's say an instructor, make that your last lesson with them, because you don't need to be going to them anymore, because they need to research some new stuff in the golf swing. That's very old, very inconsistent. I used to work with some instructors who said that. So we need to make sure we're rotating through the shot. We could be thinking, we could be thinking eyes looking down the target. We don't want to be releasing it. We want to have a square club face coming into the ball in the downswing and rotating through. So let's do that. So guys, those were the 5 mistakes in the golf swing that you thought were right. And you could see they're really not. You could see that any one of these could destroy your chance of really hitting a good golf shot and playing good golf. And let's say even if one of these was a problem you had, if you fix that straight away, you'll be playing so much better. I can guarantee most of you out there thought one of these were true, and they're really not. So make sure, guys, of obviously understanding why they're wrong and how you can fix them as well. You go out to your next practice session and you really work on these. So if someone tries to give you this advice of all these little bits you now know, just don't listen to them. Or if you're paying the money, just stop paying the money and go to someone else to be able to get proper advice. Most golf instructors out there now will not teach you to do anything like this, but there will be some out there still. I know some that do still teach that. So anyway, guys, found that helpful? Click that like button. It helps me out a lot. Helps me, grow my channel, reach it out so this info can get to more people. And as well, make sure you click that subscribe button and hit that bell button too to be notified every time you want one of my golf videos comes up. So guys, now you know what to do to really make sure you're not having these mistakes in the golf swing. Get these right and you'll be playing a lot better golf in no time.